Today, I have 5 players that I think you should go trade for right now in Dynasty football. The draft is over, and based on the market value, I think they're really strong buys. Do me a huge favor, go ahead and smash that like button. I did a video similar to this a couple weeks ago, and you guys blew it up. Thank you so much for the love. I want you to comment down below right now who you think is the biggest buy in Dynasty right now. The comment below that has the most likes, I'll try and work into a video. I'll make it the community buy low, if you will. So comment down below the most liked player that you guys say is the obvious buy low right now. I'll try and make a video on. Subscribe if you like Dynasty content. And hey, if you want Dynasty rankings, one quarterback super flex from myself, rankings from all your favorite YouTube creators, articles from all your favorite YouTube creators, and more, go ahead and use our code LAND, L-A-N-D, at flockfantasy.com/land. There's a pinned comment down below. And if you use our code, you're going to get 30% off your membership. If you choose that Mother Flocker tier, Badaki and I will grade one of your Dynasty teams on a live stream. You unlock the Dynasty Trade Show, a DM where you get personalized advice from us, and more. Okay, let's get straight into the video. The first player that I think you guys should go out and buy right now, and this is more for super flex leagues, but I guess you could actually say one quarterback too. Probably the most overhated player in the NFL right now. It's like, at this point, it's obnoxious how easily people hate this player. That is Kyler Murray, okay? The community currently has him ranked as a quarterback 12. I have him ranked as the quarterback 10 in Dynasty football. And what I'm really getting kind of caught up on here is people are ranking rookie quarterbacks over Kyler Murray. Quarterbacks that they hope to give you the kind of fantasy production that he has proven he can, and we're just assuming that those rookie quarterbacks are going to do so. Kyler is a proven star in fantasy football. I'm seeing a lot of people, like I said, have A-Rich, have Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. I love this rookie class. I love these quarterbacks, but I think this has gone too far. I don't think you should have those rookies ahead of Kyler Murray. Let's look at his fantasy career so far, okay? Since 2019, he was a rookie. He was a quarterback 7 that year, 12th in points per game. In 2020, he was a quarterback 2. Quarterback 2 finished 5th in points per game. In 2021 was a quarterback 10, missed some games. He was 4th in points per game. And last year he missed 6 games, but he was still 9th in points per game. Kyler has been a top 12 quarterback in points per game for fantasy every year since he's been drafted. And the only reason he wasn't a top 10 quarterback finish in every single year was because of the 6 games that he missed here in 2022. He has the upside that everyone is looking for with the rookie quarterbacks that they're ranking ahead of him right now. And he's only 25 years old. We're not talking about a player who's in their 30s, early 30s. I mean, this is a 25-year-old quarterback at the time of recording this. He has a quarterback 2 finish, top 5 in points per game most years, and people are just underrating him, I think, so much. Secondly, Kyler has a commitment from this franchise, okay? There's only 4 quarterbacks in the NFL that have more fully guaranteed money on their contract in the NFL today, okay? Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, all these quarterbacks that you guys love, that I love, Kyler Murray has more guaranteed money on his contract than them. This team is committed to Kyler Murray. And I can already hear the comments down below. The Cardinals are going to be bad this year and they're going to draft Caleb Williams. Let's talk about that, okay? Firstly, the Cardinals would need to do some sort of historic wiggle room type of move to get out of this Kyler Murray deal. Okay, $51 million cap hit next year and an $81 million dead cap. This contract would not be easy to move, and you can't just cut him. It makes no sense. And if you can't cut him, you have all that money on your on your books. It makes no sense to make that move. But anyway, secondly, let's assume that the Cardinals did find a way to trade Kyler Murray. Let's assume they draft Drake May, Caleb Williams. Let's just assume that it happens, okay? Is he going to be in a worse position on a different team? Genuine question. How many teams would Kyler Murray be traded to where it would be a worse position than what he's in right now with Arizona? D-Hop is getting older. Who knows how long he's going to be there? But Think about some quarterback needy teams just off the top of my head. Washington. Okay, great weapons there. The Tampa Bay Bucks. Cool. I mean, a lot of veteran weapons there that are pretty damn good. How about the Vikings? Oh, that's a good wide receiver room to step into. Maybe the Rams, the Falcons. I mean, think about a team. I can't think of one. Maybe the Patriots. I mean, regardless, if he gets traded, he's going to be a starter. Nobody's going to trade for that contract and not make Kyler Murray the starter of their team. Regardless, I don't think his value is just gone. I don't see his value tanking in a trade. If, by chance, if he is traded, maybe he's in a better position. But regardless, again, it's still going to be really difficult for the Cardinals to trade him on this contract. And so much can happen in a year. I mean, we have no idea where the Cardinals will be in the draft next year. I know they have the Texans pick, but how about we play devil's advocate here, right? People say, well, they're going to draft a quarterback. What if they draft Marvin Harrison Jr.? What if the Cardinals decide to commit to Kyler Murray and they get the best wide receiver prospect we've seen since Jamar Chase and pair him up with Trey McBride, Hollywood Brown, and Rondale Moore? Okay, so there's two sides to that coin, but either way, I don't think Kyler's really losing that much. He's 25 years old. He's on a huge contract. And the Cardinals, if he stays with them, they have shown that they're not afraid to add weapons around Kyler Murray. They traded a first for Hollywood Brown last year, probably sign him long term. They traded for DeAndre Hopkins. They traded for Zach Ertz. They signed James Conner in free agency. This franchise has shown a consistent willingness to surround Kyler with, at minimum, competent weapons. And the last thing we'll talk about with Kyler is the ACL, because I know a lot of people are worried, well, what about the ACL injury? What about like his rushing ability? Most people are concerned that he's going to take a hit as far as being a rushing quarterback with the ACL. Of course, that's possible, but ACLs are not this devastating injury today that they used to be 10, 15 years ago. In fact, most players' knees are actually stronger long-term after having an ACL, fixing their ACL in surgery. And Kyler Murray isn't some sort of Lamar Jackson rush focused only type of quarterback. He's much more than that. If you look at quarterback rushing attempts per game, I tried to think of like all the names that people keep comparing Kyler Murray to, right? Your Michael Vicks, your Lamar Jacksons, Justin Fields, as far as like fantasy production, right? Different players. But people think of Kyler Murray as just this like, oh, he's rushing like 10, 11 times per game. What do we do now? That's just not true. That's not been the case for Kyler Murray. Look at his attempts per game. Less than Josh Allen, Michael Vick, Cam Newton, Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson. I mean, Kyler's not even over 7 attempts per game for his entire career, and Lamar's over 10. So it's two different stories there. Now, does some of his points come from rushing? Yes, but he is not just a rushing quarterback. His arm talent is far superior than that of Justin Fields. No disrespect to Jalen Hurts, but Kyler Murray has superior arm talent. Lamar Jackson, again, the list goes on. As he ages, Kyler Murray is not one of those quarterbacks that I'm personally worried about losing value because of the arm talent. This dude has an absolute cannon. 2022 was a rough year, but in 2021, his last, relatively healthy season, Joe Burrow was the only one who had a higher completion percentage than Kyler Murray. And Kyler Murray was top 8 in adjusted yards per attempt. I don't have concerns about Kyler's game long term. Kyler can play well into his 30s, 34, 35. And when those rushing attempts go down to 2 to 3 to 4, he's still going to be a really good quarterback. Think a little bit about like Dak Prescott, how he aged and after his serious injury, but Kyler Murray is going to be an even better version of Dak Prescott as he ages. So I think he's massively undervalued, and I think you should go out and you should trade for him. And if you look at some sort of, pick compensation right now, he's looking at like around the 104. And again, look at those rookie quarterbacks. If you can manage like the 104, 105, 106, a lot of people are selling him really low, and you can go out and get Kyler Murray or do some sort of package deal. I think you're going to be, grateful later on that you ended up doing that deal. Again, I don't dislike the rookie quarterbacks, but I just think that some of them being over Kyler Murray is a little bit ridiculous. And if you look at players, you could send Dak Prescott, Ken Walker, Josh Jacobs, Tyreek Hill, Mark Andrews, DK Metcalf, T. Higgins, Drake London. Like, there's a lot of players that you could go ahead and send. Jahmyr Gibbs, like another example. Hey, send Gibbs off if you have a good running back room and get Kyler Murray in return. So I really, really like Kyler Murray. I think he's a fantastic buy right now in Dynasty football. The second player I think you guys should go out and trade for, or that I think is really well priced, let's talk about Rashad Penny. If you're a win now team that just needs someone to give you good production at the running back spot, I think Rashad Penny could be that based on the price. He's the community's running back 47. He's my running back 40. And Penny last year was an efficiency superstar before the injury. He was really, really good. In 2022, if you look at running backs with a minimum of 50 attempts, he was first in yards per attempt. Okay. And by the way, no other running back in the NFL had over 6 yards per attempt. It was just Rashad Penny. He was first in yards after contact per attempt at 4.23. Only Penny and Breece Hall were over that 4 yards after contact per attempt threshold. If you look at his breakaway percentage last year, it was first. Breakaway percentage meaning how many of the designed runs did you take for 15 or more yards? So over 50% of his runs were over 15 yards, which is extremely impressive. He had the 5th best elusive rating. He had the 2nd best rushing yards over expected per attempt. That was, again, second only behind James Cook in 2022. Rashad Penny this offseason reminds me a little bit, and maybe a discounted version, a little bit of Miles Sanders last year, oddly enough. I know it's the Eagles, but I remember talking about Miles Sanders last year, and he was just so efficient in almost every category. He was one of the most unlucky running backs in the NFL, and it worked out really well for Miles. I feel similar energy here with Rashad Penny. And obviously the elephant in the room, let's talk about the injuries, because the injuries, it's a vast injury history for Rashad Penny, no doubt. I'm with you there. The pro DeAndre Swift people here are probably going to maybe try and use that as an argument, but I don't think they have an argument if they're going to bring up injuries. Right now, you look at the depth chart for the Eagles, it's Penny, Swift, Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott, Trey Sermon. I understand some people out there won't be in this category, but I think most of us would anticipate DeAndre Swift and Rashad Penny having the most opportunities in this backfield in 2023. DeAndre Swift is a great talent. He's a very good talent. Don't hear what I'm not saying, but he himself has only started 16 of 49 games since entering the NFL, meaning he started just 32.6% of Detroit's games since he was drafted in 2022. Again, 16 starts out of 49 potential starts. And if you look at his attempts per game, he's only averaging 9.1 attempts per game in his entire career. This is not a running back that even in his young career was given a large workload on the ground, specifically only averaging 42 rush yards per game. I mean, this is not a running back who is being traded, who has this vast history of handling 15, 20 carries a game. That's not what we're talking about here with DeAndre Swift. And if you think about this offense, right? If you think about this offense in Philly, what do they do really well? Well, they run the ball really well. No one in 2022 ran the ball more than the Philadelphia Eagles, and nobody threw the ball less to running backs in 2022. So DeAndre Swift in his entire career has 2 games over 15 rushing attempts. That's 5% of his games. You know, to me, like, Penny feels like he could have a very important role in this offense. And I don't want you guys to hear what I'm not saying, because I'm not saying that DeAndre Swift will be irrelevant. He will be relevant. He will be an important part of this offense. But Rashad Penny has a great shot to be a huge part of what the Eagles do here in 2023. And most importantly, he is very, very affordable. I would send the following players away for Rashad Penny: Al Lazard, DJ Chark, Tyler Boyd, Nico Collins, DPJ, Dawson Knox, Isaiah Likely. If you're looking at draft compensation, it's like the 302 to the 306. And again, if you're a win now team, I mean, that's more, you should be more than willing to go ahead and make that deal for a guy like Rashad Penny in the offense that he's in, with this history of him being really good when healthy. If Penny can be healthy, man, I mean, the sky is truly the limit for this former first round pick. When he's been healthy, he's been so dang good. Okay, the third person that I think you should go out and trade for, we talked about Kyler Murray earlier, and now we're going to talk about Hollywood Brown. Go trade for Hollywood Brown. In the community, he's a wide receiver 33. According to me, he's my wide receiver 30. Hollywood, low-key, was a superstar last year before that injury that kept him off the field. There was a big question of, will Kyler favor D-Hop when he's back? We never really got to answer that because of the Hollywood Brown injury. But man, Hollywood was, oh my God, was he good weeks 1 to 6. Check this out. First 6 weeks of the season, he was 4th in targets. He was 5th in receptions. He was 7th in receiving yards. He was a wide receiver 5 6 weeks through fantasy last year. And he was the wide receiver 7 in points per game, averaging 18.3 PPR points per game. If you extrapolate his numbers in those first 6 weeks to a 17-game series, he was on track, keyword on track, for 122 receptions, 1,300 plus receiving yards, and 8 touchdowns. Now, it's super unlikely that he would have hit those kind of numbers with DeAndre Hopkins back, but still, the point is to show you there how damn good he really was last year when both he and Kyler Murray were healthy. And Hollywood Brown is not this old 28, 29-year-old player. He is 25 at the time of recording this, and he's on the last year of his contract. He's about to get a bag. Friendly reminder, the Cardinals sent a first-round pick for Hollywood Brown in last year's draft in 2022. And that's because Hollywood is Kyler's guy. We'll talk about that in a second, but it would make no sense for this team to move on from Hollywood Brown. If they do, there will be a huge market for Hollywood, but it just doesn't make any sense for them to do that. You brought him in because he's Kyler's guy. You spent a first round pick on him. That would be a terrible bit of business. I know it was a different GM, but still, it's still Kyler Murray there. That's their guy. They need to figure out a contract extension for Hollywood Brown. And let's talk about the Kyler connection because it is real. It is special. We saw it in the first 6 weeks, but we also saw it at Oklahoma in college. Kyler's Heisman year at Oklahoma, Hollywood Brown was a monster. The two guys in that offense that were going off, CeeDee Lamb and Hollywood Brown. But oddly enough, Hollywood Brown was the go-to in that offense. He already had a really good season in 2017, but in 2018, Hollywood Brown in college, if you don't follow college football, you might not understand how impressive this is, but in college, Hollywood Brown put up 75 receptions, over 1,300 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Ridiculous type numbers for college football production. He went absolutely bonkers. And that's the type of connection that we saw from weeks 1 to 6. We saw them get right back on track. It could be this special connection that we see once Kyler gets healthy for the next, let's say they sign Hollywood to a 3 or 4 year deal. You could see some special numbers for Hollywood as he starts to enter his prime. And he's really affordable at the moment. Again, players I would send away: DeAndre Swift, Derrick Henry, Isaiah Pacheco. If you're looking for draft picks around the 111 in this year's draft, who do you want at the 111? Genuine question. Let me know. Would you rather have Hollywood Brown or Zach Charbonnet? Hollywood Brown or Devin A-Chain? Where are you really going with that pick? A-Chain, he looks really exciting. I love Devin A-Chain, but still, Hollywood Brown is a proven fantasy wide receiver, and I think he has a big future in Arizona with Kyler Murray. All right, the fourth player that I think you should go out and trade for, and I can't believe we're here, but we are. If you guys know, there was 3 players I was very vocal about last offseason that you should sell. Okay. One was DJ Moore, got roasted for it, ended up being right. One was Najee Harris, got roasted for it, ended up being right. And the third was Deontay Johnson, got roasted for it, ended up being right. But now it's come full circle. On February 12th, 2022, I'll put a link actually in the pinned comment so you guys can go back and watch. But I said that he had his best ever season already in 2021 and that you should sell him. Here we are, full circle. I'm now telling you to buy him. He's my wide receiver 37. He's the community's wide receiver 36. So I'm not exactly where the community is, but I still think he's in a good range based off what it's going to cost you. And look, opportunity, we preach this. Opportunity is everything in fantasy football. Targets are earned, they're not given. And Deontay Johnson has earned a lot of targets in Pittsburgh. He has this unfounded, unbelievable type of favor with this coaching staff. And as long as Matt Canada's there, I don't know that it changes all that much. If you look at his opportunities in 2021, he had the second most targets at 169, and as well in targets per game, he was second. In 2022, those numbers went down slightly, but still 7th in targets. He was averaging 8.6 targets per game. While he didn't have anywhere near the season in 2022 that he did in 2021, he still demanded a ton of targets, and he finished as a wide receiver 28 despite scoring 0 touchdowns. Could you imagine if he scored like 4 or 5 touchdowns like a normal person who has that many targets? I mean, he would be like a wide receiver 2 easily. I believe he'd be the wide receiver 22 if he just scored 4 touchdowns. He will score more touchdowns in 2023. I mean, you can't go worse than 0, right? But he and Pickens are going to be a really good duo together, personally. I mean, when you think about it, Pickens can play on the outside. Diontae Johnson can play on the outside. I think they're both really good wide receivers to complement each other. Pickens is your bigger body. I think Diontae will be used more over the middle, those intermediate quick slants, quick outs. And that's why he ends up getting so many targets. But Pickens his role is going to grow, but Diontae is still going to get his. I'm a huge George Pickens fan. I think they both can thrive in Pittsburgh. And the last thing we'll talk about with Diontae Johnson is Kenny Pickett. Kenny's a tough one, okay? He should improve year 2. Most quarterbacks in year 1 are not good. I mean, that's just, for whatever reason, maybe it's Justin Herbert. There's always this unrealistic expectation for rookie quarterbacks to come out the gate and just be really good players. Typically, that's not what happens. Look historically at all your favorite quarterbacks, unless they're Patrick Mahomes, who started in year 2, or Justin Herbert. Typically, they're not very good starters in year 1. It takes time. He was the worst out of 33 quarterbacks charted in adjusted yards per attempt last year, which is rough. But he got better to end the season, okay? From weeks 4 to 8 compared to weeks 10 to 18, he was much, much better, right? In those first 5 starts, he had 2 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. And in that last bit, he won 7 out of 2 games. He threw 5 touchdowns and only 1 interception. So look, it's small signs of hope, but we see the pathway for this offense to get better and better. And they just addressed a huge need on their offensive line with, the NFL draft as well. So look, is Diontae Johnson ever going to recover his 2021 form? No, but he's so cheap right now that you don't really need him to. All you need him to be is a good flex option for you in your dynasty leagues. So with Diontae, I want to focus specifically on draft capital, because again, the back end of the first, let's say the 112 to the 203 or so, like what rookie do you really want over Diontae Johnson? Maybe there's someone on your mind that you just desperately prefer. Maybe you're a Josh Downs guy. I mean, I like Josh Downs, hate his situation. So I don't think there's a better wide receiver buy for win now teams than Diontae Johnson based off that price. And the last player on this video, last time I did this video, I brought you Treylon Burks, and I so desperately wanted to talk about his teammate, but we're doing it today. Chig Okonkwo. Go buy some Chig Okonkwo. Currently the tight end 14 in my rankings, tight end 13 in the community. And at first, I was a little bit confused by the hype, but the more I dove into it in the offseason, I was like, okay, I think I'm actually all in as well on Chig Okonkwo. His rookie season was actually stellar when you look at it, specifically in the analytics. Look at this. Minimum of 30 targets, all tight ends in the NFL. Chig Okonkwo, first in yards per reception. First in yards after the catch per reception. First in yards per route run. Yes, all 3 of those categories, better than Travis Kelce this year. Better than Travis Kelce. Contested catch percentage, he was 5th at 62.5%. Yards per reception, which I'm pretty sure we already talked about, but yeah, first in yards per reception. Average depth of target, 15th at 8, which is the same number that Zach Ertz had this year. He was really, really efficient, and he has, in my opinion, earned a bigger role for himself heading into 2023. And if you look at his, let's look at his rookie season a little bit more in depth. From weeks 1 to 11 versus 12 to 18, you can see a real attempt with the Titans organization to get Chig involved in the passing game. His snap percentage goes up, his targets per game go up, his receptions, yards, everything goes up. In the first 11 weeks, Chig Okonkwo was the tight end 45, but to end the year, weeks 12 to 18, he was the tight end 7. It's a small sample size, but given what this team has done in the offseason, all signs point towards Chig and Treylon having big years. I talked about it last time, but as much as Treylon's a winner, so is Chig, right? What did they do to hurt Chig and Treylon? Nothing. If anything, everything they did this offseason helps Chig and Treylon in fantasy football. They improved the offensive line with Peter Skoronski, Andre Dillard. Great. That's great for the receivers. They brought in more quarterback competition with Will Levis. Great. That's good for the receivers. And they didn't add a single wide receiver to compete or a tight end to compete. In a deep tight end class, they decided not to go that way. They decided to rely on Chig. Robert Woods left. I mean, no one of significance joined this team. Chig and Treylon should be set up for big years in Tennessee. So if we look at players, I would send away Cole Kmet. I know that sounds crazy. I would do it. Jalen Hyatt, Cortland Sutton, Darnell Mooney, Juju, Wan'Dale Robinson. And if you're looking at picks around the 209 and onwards, I would be willing to send away for Chig Okonkwo. So those are 5 players that I think you should go out and trade for now. I think they're all priced relatively, affordably. And I think they're all going to give you return based off what they currently cost. So do me a massive favor, drop a like on this video just for some love. Comment down below, again, who you think the biggest buy low is, and we'll see you in the next one. All love. Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, L-A-N-D, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.
It's so easy, even your grandma could scan that QR code right there.